Module 4, Mechanical Lab. Hi, Joe Cerrone. We're going to work this Mechanical Lab today. We're going to use the B-size MEC title block. We're going to create the drawing as shown. It's basically a 3-inch by 3-inch square plate that's a 1/4 of an inch thick. And we're going to use commands like draw line and arc tangent. So let's get started. The drawing will look like this once we're complete. The 3-dimensional component is optional. To get started, we'll download the B-size mechanical title block. So we can go to our content and we can go to our title blocks and we'll get our B-size mechanical title block. We'll download that. We'll open it. It opens the title block in paper space with a viewport. We're going to switch over to model space. We're going to make sure that our toolbar is enabled, or menu bar rather. So my menu bar is on. If I turn it off, turn it back on, show menu bar. And then we can start off by looking at things like polar. We want our polar to be on. That's this button right here. If we look at our grid and snap settings, we're not going to use grid and snap on this one, but we are going to use polar tracking and we are going to use object snap. Alright, so we'll start off by drawing a line and we'll track that line out. As you can see, it moves in that direction with a green tracking line. We'll say 3, and then I'll turn the wheel on the mouse to zoom in on that area. We'll track that north till we get a tracking line. We'll type in 3, go this way, 3, and then we can type C for close. When we look at this object, what we'll notice is that it has these circular shapes, and if we kind of zoom in on it, what we'll do is we'll start off by drawing the location of these holes here as well as the center part here. And I think what we'll do is we'll start off by doing this. First we've done this exterior profile, and then we'll do this other exterior profile. We'll work this from the outside in. So to do that, we'll locate these 4 holes off of the center mark. And so what I'll do is I'll just draw a construction line from the midpoint here, across here, and then from here to here. And then as we look at the drawing, we'll offset 1 inch up and 1 inch down. So we'll say offset 1, enter. One. And then we'll draw these circles with a diameter value of 0.25. Center diameter. And we'll turn on a row snap for that at intersection. .25, and it remembers the last value, so you can just hit enter and it'll put that value in there. So once we have those 4 geometries drawn, then we have another circle with a radius of a 1/4 inch, and those are needed to be able to get this arc right here, this 4-inch radius, which we'll use a tangent radius to draw that in. So again, circle center radius right here, and the radius will be 0.25. And then we'll draw in a circle with tangent arc, tangent radius. And so when we do this circle tangent radius, we'll glide over here to a tangency point. We'll glide over here to a tangency point, and then we'll type the radius, which is 4, and enter. And it'll give us this great big circle, but that's fine. We'll go to trim, we'll hit enter, and then we'll just use our, if you hold the left mouse button and drag it through, it'll go through and cut those items as needed. And then we'll do that same technique again. And so I'm going to clean this up a little bit before I do. I'm going to get rid of these lines that locate the center of those circles. It's a little easier to read that way. And then again, we'll go tangent, tangent, radius. We'll say tangent, tangent, 4, trim, enter, glide through, glide through, glide through. Repeat, tangent, tangent, radius is 4, trim, enter, glide through. When I say glide through, push the left mouse button and drag it. We can also clean up these circular geometries with trim by gliding through those components like that. All right, let's take a look at our drawing. Next part that we're going to draw here is going to be this part right here, and this is located similar to how the other one was, where we're going to have a location for a center point of an arc with a radius of 1/4 of an inch, 0.25. And that's going to be located a 1/2 inch up from the center and a 1/2 inch over. So we'll offset 0.5. Click on the line, pick up or down. And then we'll come back here and we'll draw this 1/4 inch radius geometries at the center of those 4 spots. And then we'll do the same thing with tangent, tangent, radius, but this time it'll be 1. Not sure what happened there, but we can fix it. All right. Clean this up. And I'm just selecting them and hitting the delete key. And then we'll go with our circle, tangent, tangent, radius. So we'll say tangent, tangent, and then our radius is 1. And then we'll trim that, enter, glide it through, erase the bottom, tangent, 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 radius is 1, trim, enter. And then if we look at the geometry here, this is going to go tangent, and it's just going to be these vertical lines. Shift right mouse click will get you the tangency options, or you can just enable them here in your OSnap. Sometimes it grabs the wrong OSnap, so if you shift right mouse click, it becomes the strongest OSnap. It kind of rises to the top of the list of possible OSnaps that you can work. I'm going to trim this. I'm going to put these on a centerline layer. I'm going to enable the centerline layer, and I'm going to annotate and create center marks at the center of these arcs. We can also do that at these arcs as well. All right. So the geometry is complete. We're going to go ahead and complete the side view, and then we'll add the dimensions to that. The side view basically will project over from the front view, and when we do drawings for mechanical design, they use a technique called orthographic projection, which means that the views line up from the front view to the side view. And so as we look at that, we'll come over here and we'll go and we'll come back to our object line. We'll say line, and if we grab that, you can just project over a line, project that up. My object tracking is none, so I'm just going to put it up there. And then I'm going to offset that 0.125 twice. I can kind of drag this one out a little bit farther. So we'll say offset 0.125. We'll trim. And then what we really have here is a line that comes from this point right here to here, and from this point right here to here. So we can trim those as well. We'll project over the geometry for the lines, and I'm going to use a quadrant for that. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just clear all of them off and just put on the ones that I want. Just makes it faster. And I'm just hitting enter twice. And these lines will be on the hidden line layer. And we'll trim those. Trim, enter. Don't forget to get rid of these. And then we'll add the center lines. And we can just bring these in here with a grip. Ideally, you want to see the dash, so you want to pull these out enough to see the dash in the middle. If you don't see the dash, they need to be pulled out a little bit more, or we need to adjust our LT scale. There it goes. All right. Okay, so let's dimension this. Before we dimension this, let's put it on the title block. And so here our drawing is set. We're going to save it. Save as. And we'll save this as our initials. We can go and click on the B-size title block, double click in the viewport, double click on the middle mouse wheel, and then we'll set that scale to 1=1, and we'll pan that over, and then we'll lock the viewport. Switching back into model space, we'll add our dimensions on the dimension line layer. So we'll select the dimension line layer, and then we'll use the annotation tab, and we'll use these dimensions on here. So we'll start with linear dimensions. We'll set up our OSNAP for endpoint, intersection, center. And don't worry about if this comes out exactly perfect. We just want to make sure that we identify the locations of these different features. All right, so that's the bottom. Let's do the side. Looks like I've got a little leftover geometry here that needs to be cleaned up. You can stagger these by clicking on the grip and then moving that dimension so that they fit a little better. You can move these out a little bit if you need to with grips. This is called making the grip hot. When you click on a blue grip, it will turn red. And now we'll add those radial dimensions. There's also kind of a what they call a multi-leader, which would be like from the center here. We'll just kind of pull this out there like they did in the book to that point, and then we'll type in x0, y0, I must have missed the text on here. Let's try it again. There it is. And then green check mark. And then we'll add the radial dimensions. To add the word typical, what you do is you double click on that text, right arrow so that you don't erase it, space T, P, green check mark. And then we've got a diameter dimension for the holes. And then again, a quick double click on that, and then arrow right so that we don't change the text. through typical is what that means. We'll dimension the side view, 2 linear dimensions. If the dimension isn't showing enough precision, you can click on it, right click, and say precision, and then you can increase that. So we'll increase that to 3 decimal places. And I'll put it on the other side so we have some more room. Hit escape to clear out the grips. Do it again. Click on it, right click, precision 3. The more precision, the more precise. That's basically what that means. And we can take this center mark here. Sometimes it'll double center mark things, and so what I'll do is I'll click on that center mark there, and I'll go to Properties, and I'll disable the center mark by saying None. And then I'll hit Escape off the drawing, and that will clean that up. And you can do that for all of these radial dimensions, so we don't need center marks on them. It just automatically does that based on the way the title block is set up. You can only do one at a time though. All right. Go back to paper space, and then it looks like we need a little bit more room here, so I'm going to unlock the viewport, and I'm just going to pan that over. I'm going to lock it again. It's locked in at 1 equals 1. Double click on the title block, and this will be Lab 4B. And I guess it would go here. I forget the name that we called it. Doesn't matter. Update the scale. And then save it as your initials, Lab 4B, and insert that into the title block. And that completes this exercise.